welcome to video 2. I've printed out all of the instruction manual that I managed to find online, and I have looked at what is in the box and what I'm missing. I'm actually really surprised that pretty much everything that is listed is present. The only things that I haven't got are the latch hook and the patterned crochet hook, and one of these weights is missing, as well as one of the hooks. So one of these 5-ounce weights and one of these hooks for the weights. I've got all of the other weights. I've got the clamps. I've got the stitch openers, or the hook openers. These are the hooks. Obviously I need a really good clean up. These are the hooks for the weights. And then we have got an auxiliary stitch guide, yarn guide, sorry, and the main part of the machine is all present, apart from the only major issue that I found is this part here is the yarn guide. It looks like that possibly has been broken, and that is supposed to sit to the side here somehow, so I'm not sure if that's broken or if this part, just try and focus, if this part here is snapped off, but I'm going to have to find some way of connecting this onto there like that, so that you can sit there and hold the yarn in place. Oops, there we go. So that's, I don't think, the end of the world. I've found that this is actually another type of comb for casting on. This is a 3-part comb for casting on that, again, the needles are absolutely rusted to pieces, so they're going to need so much cleaning. I can't slide this one onto the end because it is so rusted up, it just won't fit on there. So again, I've got a lot of rust removal to do. And these are bar weights. So I've got a small one and a large one, as well as the 3 hooks to attach it, which are described in the manual. All these needles here need to be removed, and the way that we do that is you flip it upside down. This bar comes out, and there's actually several screws on the back end which need to be removed for this to come out, and then these can just come out. So that's going to be the first thing that I'm going to do. Well, that was a nice surprise. As I moved this upside down, I actually found the missing weight, so the weights are all present. So I've turned it upside down, and these are the screws that hold the guide in place, which I need to remove. So I've got a flathead screwdriver, and I'm just going to carefully unscrew. Surprisingly, it's not too difficult to open. So I'm just going to remove all of these along here and remove the guide on the front. I'll show you in a minute. I've now removed all the screws from this back piece, and so hopefully it will remove quite easily. It does. And I'm going to take that off, and we're going to give that a good clean. In fact, I may remove this one as well to make this easier to clean. I'm hoping we can remove these more easily. No, I think we're going to actually have to remove this one as well in order to take these needles out completely. So I will do that and come back to you. Right, so I've just managed to remove that bottom bar now, and it looks like there's another piece of metal. I don't know if it's quite a thin strip, and that needs to be removed before I can. Seems to be holding in the, as you see on the back, it's absolutely filthy. You can see where it's the rust has been worn away by the actual needles. So we're going to remove this, and these needles should just lift out. There we go. As these actually are a lot cleaner than I was expecting, there's a lot less rust on them. It's a lot of dirt and other bits and pieces. I'm just actually filing them very lightly to get all the bits off and make them smooth again, and then just putting a tiny bit of oil in the end hinge to loosen that up. So I'll show you how I'm doing that. So if I can show you, I don't know if you can see how dirty they are currently, and all I'm doing is just lightly filing with a very, very fine file, so this actually makes the metal nice and smooth, and the hope is that obviously they will run nice and smooth when they're back in the machine, because there won't be all these bits of gunk and rust that are blocking it from moving freely. So I'm just literally filing away all the stuck on bits and pieces. File actually needs a clean, so we're just filing all the bits of dirt off, making sure all the little grooves are covered. So I'm hoping they're actually going to work very well once they're put back in. So just removing all those layers of junk, just carefully going around the end of the hook. And the other thing I've been doing is I've been using the rounded end very slightly in here just to remove the tips are particularly rusted, so I'm just sanding away any surface rust on those ends, being careful and obviously not to file away any of the actual needle. But this seems to have been working very well. And then the little needle hook, I'm just going to lightly file that as well, just to get any dirt off that. Once I've finished with the filing, I've just dipped it in a bit of oil, and then I'm just going to literally work the oil in by moving the latch backwards and forwards for a little while, and it loosens up very quickly. So we'll just get that right into the groove. That's nice and lubricated. We'll just wipe off the excess, and the needle is much, much, much better. So hopefully, I just see it's much freer action on the hook now. I've just got about another 180 to do. I finally finished cleaning the needles for the machine, and they've all been lubricated using tiny bits of sewing machine oil in the hinges. So even the ones that were really rusted up and stuck in the actual machine, they all now move pretty freely. As you can see, there's still a slight bit of staining on it, but it feels really smooth. There's no friction on that anymore, and the hinges are really nice and loose now. Now that the needles have all been cleaned, my next job is to clean the grooves of the machine itself. As you can see, it's very dirty, and there's quite a bit of dirt stuck in between the grooves. So I've been considering how to clean this the best way, and my husband actually suggested using a pipe cleaner, and this actually works really well. So all I'm doing is doing like a flossing action. I can't do it with one hand, but doing a flossing action like this, obviously one hand either side, and using it to pull out the dirt. And obviously, as you can see, the pipe cleaner is getting really filthy just from doing a couple a minute ago. So that works really well. And then what I'll do is give it a light scrub to get rid of the surface dirt on the top and on the front here. And then that's the main body, I think, actually okay. I'll probably just give this a little bit of a scrub to clean it up as well. But for now, I'm just going to work on the bed and get this functional. So whilst cleaning the bed, I did discover that although the pipe cleaners removed a lot of the dust and loose dirt inside it, there is quite a bit of gummed up dirt, as you can see here at the tops of the channels, that is just not shifting. So I actually switched tactics after getting rid of all the loose dirt, and instead I have been scrubbing the grooves with an old toothbrush and some isopropyl alcohol. and actually that's worked really well. So if you can see here, this is, I've cleaned it up until about here, so you can see how it is, all the channels are quite gunked up. And then if we go this way, you can see the ones that have been cleaned, and they are much cleaner looking. There's still a bit of dirt in there. I could probably go over it again just to get the last few bits out, but it is overall looking much clearer. I've given this a quick clean with the isopropyl alcohol and the small toothbrush, and the clear section is looking much better. I can see the numbers much more clearly now, but there is still quite a significant amount of discoloration on the arm. I have tried to use a very fine file. I've managed to clean the top of the screw off. I can't quite get into the gap of the screw, so I'm just going to use some P600 wet and dry paper. It's super fine paper, and I'm just hoping to take a bit of the surface rust off, just to get that shine back. If I just do this one-handed. So after giving it a good clean with the wet and dry paper, as you can see, it's looking much shinier and cleaner. It's not perfect. I could probably polish it up if I was particularly bothered, but to be honest, I'm not. I've got rid of all the discoloration and any rust or anything like that, so I'm quite happy to leave that as it is. Now that the bed is all cleaned and the needles have all been cleaned, I have reinserted all of the needles into the bed, and I have reattached the rails to hold them all in place, and it's looking much cleaner, as you can see. The needles all slide out much more easily. So the next thing to do is to start cleaning the slide. Here's the slide off of the machine. This part is really stiff. This is actually supposed to slide forward about an inch, forwards and back, but it works on one side, sort of. It's really stiff. It's got a lot of rust on it. Just doesn't want to move very easily at all. So that's going to be taken apart and cleaned. I will probably use isopropyl alcohol and a very fine sandpaper, as that seems to have been working really well. And I'm just going to go over all these different, that one's not too bad, but I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean up and make sure everything that's supposed to move is moving. This one has been loosened off, so this is the adjuster, so this will need to be cleaned, because as you can see, there is a line of dirt where it had been kept in one place for decades. And again, the back piece just needs a bit of a clean up. And then if we go to the back, this part seems not too bad, just needs a good clean up. But this part is really rusty, so that's I'm going to have to take a bit of time just to get all that rust off. These parts I'm just going to give a good clean up and see if I need to adjust anything once it's all cleaned up. I've cleaned the slide as best I can for the time being. There's still a lot of discoloration on it, but all the parts now move smoothly. I've put it back into the machine and oiled it, and as you can see, we have a lovely smooth action now. There's no resistance on that. The next issue I have is that the needle opener appears to be too high. So if I do this, you can see it's just sliding above them. There's an adjusting screw at the top here that I'm thinking if I undo this very slightly, I'm able to slide this part forward a little in order to line it up with the hole, as at the moment it's not quite in line with it. So I'm going to try and adjust that and see if that makes it better. After a lot of playing around, I discovered that this seems to be set at slightly the wrong angle, and I've not been able to adjust it by bending it, as it's a really strong piece of metal. So what I've done is actually I found that when this screw was slightly looser, it made this angle correct for going through and opening the hooks on the needles. So what I've actually done is taken a bit of craft foam and just put it behind, so that when the screw is done up, it's actually not loose, so it actually holds it in place firmly in the right position. So now let me just, you see the needles are closed as this comes through. All the needles are opened, and it's, oops, I don't know how to handle it, slides easier then. There we go. So now it's working through all the needles correctly. I finally managed to get the counter to work. It turned out that as the slider came past, this was not quite clicking down enough. So as this just slides in and out, it's just sat there. What I did is I've actually made some little spacers using two of these little washers back to back on each side, so that it's a nice secure base for it to sit on. And now when you slide it, you get the counter. So I'm really happy with that. That's working really well. Maybe unconventional, but it works. So that's my progress currently. I've still got some more work to do. I've got to repair the yarn tensioner still and attach that to the slide. And I also have some fine tuning to do with the machine itself in order to get it to knit smoothly. I still have all the rust to clean off of the accessories, such as the ribber and the casting on combs. But apart from that, we are slowly getting there. Take care, and thanks for watching.